Everyone said, shall we begin? Let us bring our palms together then to make our veneration to the Perfect One, the Omniscient One, the Unvanquished One, the Undefeated One, reminding ourselves that He is the great Master, our teacher and our guide, and in His footsteps we follow to achieve the ultimate bliss of Nibbāna. So as we make this token of veneration, let us also remind ourselves that this is not a mere mark of respect or obeisance. It is a reminder to ourselves as to our purpose, what we are here for. It is a pledge of our allegiance to the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, which represents the destination, the journey and our practice. So with that in mind, let us chant the Namaskara, observe the precepts and commence with today's proceedings. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I couldn't help but notice the deep sense of love and devotion with which you treat the Mahasanga. Right from the moment we drive in to the school, which is when we meet on a Sunday, the staff at the gates, the moment they see Swamin Wahanse's car, they're up on their feet and they'll run to the gate. They'll move the barricades out of the way and they usher the Swamin Wahanse in. And that's only the beginning. And these are people who've not even listened to the Dhamma sermons. But it gives you an indication of what's to come. And then as the car pulls up into, what shall we call the driveway, then there's a welcome party there. There's a troop, a platoon, waiting to receive the Mahasanga. Carpets are laid, muthukuda, armed with muthukuda. It's like you've been waiting for the Buddha himself. And the carpets are laid, and then I remember seeing a similar sight when the aircraft lands, and as it pulls up to the, what do you call it? Terminal, yes, the terminal. So there's a gentleman or an officer with these little lights, right? To guide the pilot. So we have that service here as well at Gateway. So there's someone who will guide the car. The only other place I've seen this is at the garage. When you have to get the car aligned exactly onto the hoist. So there's someone who does that. So the car is always it's perfectly aligned with the pavada. And then it's like a swarm of bees. I can see all this from the inside. Although you can't see inside the car, I can see what's going on outside. This is my moment to rejoice. I see the beauty in everything you do, ladies and gentlemen. Every single thing you do, I see the beauty in that. I don't know whether you see as much beauty in what you do as I do in all the actions that you do. So it's like a swarm of bees called into action. That event there reminds me of those F1 pit stops. When the cars pull up to the pit stop in the Formula One races. It's like a swarm of bees there, right? They're all running to replace the tires, refuel the car. So it's just like that. Everyone's just running around, like making sure that the carpets are there, aligned with the car, and so that when Swami Mahasanga gets out, he doesn't have to step foot on the tarmac. I have this fear that one day one of you will carry me. Don't. What you're doing is more than enough. I want you to now see the beauty in what you do. It's never the quantity. So the quality is far more important than the quantity. It's not how much you do. It's how much you put into what you do. Do you understand the difference between these two things? It's not how much you do. It's not how much you offer. Now after the sermon you have an almsgiving, don't you? How much do you actually offer? Okay, let me reword that. How much are you allowed to offer? Just a very little bit, right? Sometimes maybe a teaspoonful, not more than that. So even when you scurry along, try to put a second teaspoon, the Swami Mahasanga, he moves on just to make sure that there's enough room for the last person to make the offering. It's not about how much you offer. It never is, and it never was, and it never will be. That is the difference between what is worldly and what is the sasana. It's really important. So then you're running around preparing the reception, and then I can see there will be some gentleman or a lady who will ask the Anagarika Mahata, are we ready to open the door for the Swami Mahasanga to get out? So then the Anagarika Mahata will peep his head into the car and say, Swami Mahasanga, ready? So that gives Swami Mahasanga a couple of moments to grab the Vatatta, adjust his robes, and be prepared to embrace the welcome. So then the doors are opened. And because I want you all to earn as much merits as you possibly can from every little thing you do and receive every blessing that you are entitled to. Even when we step foot on the Power Day, which is something we always do, but particularly at those moments, ladies and gentlemen, we think of a blessing. For example, Nibbāna. Nibbana manātai nibbana bhavetva. Nibbāna is bliss. May they all attain Nibbāna. Because I know that this is an offering to the Mahasanga. This is an offering to the cause of Nibbāna. In other words, the only thing you hope and you expect out of making this offering is that Nibbāna arises. Whether that is within you, within the person next to you, wherever. Nibbāna is not something that belongs to someone. It's the universal truth. But you do it for Nibbāna. And that is the beauty of it. So what Swami Mahasanga do is, whenever they step foot on the Power Day, they think of a blessing. Sometimes they don't vocalize it, but in their minds, that is what they think. It's just the same as when we go on alms round. You see, because there is no individual to receive your offering. I'll talk about that in a moment. Let me finish the story first. We'll come to the analysis in a moment. But I just wanted to share with you, the beauty that I experience. And I want to ask you whether you experience as much beauty as you do, as I do, in the things that you do. Now I remember last week when we got off, I didn't realize that the pavade were laid on the other side, around the front of the car. So then I didn't realize that. And then I started walking behind the car and then realized I heard people calling people's names. So that is how I know people's names. I don't know who's who. I haven't put names to faces, or rather faces to the names. I've heard the names, but I don't know which face that name belongs to. And that's okay. Because for all of you, I have a Sasanic name. Your name is a name given by your maternal parents, right? Maternal, paternal, biological parents. I have Sasanic names for all of you. You come to the monastery, I'll tell you what it is. I already have it. But to find out, you got to come and put a patkadi on your shoulder. Then I'll tell you what your Sasanic name is. It's mine to know and for you to find out. So last week this happened. I was walking behind the car and then I realized that the pavadi had been laid to the other end, the other side. And so I knew at this moment what was going to happen. So all hell had broken loose. Swaminatha had done the unthinkable, which is to put his feet on the tarmac, on the ground. So the unthinkable had been committed, almost like it's a heinous sin. So I quickly corrected my mistake and I said, no, it's fine, we'll walk the other way. We'll walk around the front of the car. Otherwise, I'm going to either I'll get an earful, because you'll say, Swaminatha, don't do that, Swaminatha, please, Swaminatha, that's Swaminatha, this Swaminatha. Either that will happen, or I will have to freeze until you bring the pavade and you lay it down and Swaminatha is given the green light to proceed. It's beautiful, ladies and gentlemen, just beautiful. Beautiful, awesome. It's truly beautiful. I mean the thought behind all of these actions. It's truly beautiful. Frankly, you don't have to do so much. And that's the beauty of it. You know you don't have to. But you do it anyway, don't you? That is the beauty of it. It's not your duty. It's what you enjoy. So you do it from the bottom of your heart. And you have let that grow into you over the course of the past months to the years. Every week you learn a bit more of the Dhamma. You let the Dhamma to sink in. And every week that goes by, some little change happens within you. You start to see the world a little bit differently. You become more of a peaceful person, more tranquil, more serene. There's more peace at home. People get along better with you. You are more understanding of others. You understand that people hurt you only because they're hurt. And you have begun to see that everything that comes to you is like the reflection of the mirror. So no one else is to blame. Therefore, the need to blame, the need to retaliate is no longer within you. I'm talking about you, aren't I? I hope so. I hope so. So you have begun to experience the tranquility that the Dhamma brings. Nobleness has begun to arise within you. That is why your association is always very welcome. That is why your association is always so wholesome. Perhaps you used to be someone who was always always very irritable. Perhaps someone who was easily irritated. Maybe someone who was actually didn't think much about how your words, your thoughts, your actions would influence or impact others. But now you're very mindful about such things. And this change you have begun to see, and I have begun to see myself. So last week that is what happened, but this week I didn't make that mistake, but the carpets were laid. I don't know whether they're called carpets. Just doesn't seem fitting for what it is. Let's call it pavada. So they were laid. And then we walk into the office where we wait until you prepare yourselves here. And even that, I often think to myself, I know that is the office of the chairman of this institution. He could easily have offered us another room. But he has offered his office. And every day there's some new little addition I have seen to the furnishings, let's just say. So I was explaining to Swaminathan who came last week. So it was a different Swaminathan who accompanied me. I said, Swaminathan, you see all this going on at Rajagiriya? So this happened gradually. At the beginning there was a sofa. Very beginning, there was a sofa. But that was the sofa, the office sofa. And then there was a cloth that got laid on the sofa. So Swaminathan no longer had to sit. Now there was a white cloth at the beginning. Then the white cloth got replaced with a velvet, some greenish cloth. So, we always just accept whatever you offer. It is always accepted as long as you offer it for your salvation. If it is in the name of your salvation, ladies and gentlemen, you can offer whatever you want. I want you know that, not what you have, but you want to offer what you have. Eventually you will offer what I want, so that will happen. I know that will happen. I'm prepared to wait. Wait and see. So then that got replaced, the white cloth got replaced with a green cloth. So it was it was embroidered and it was very luxurious. So it's one of those ones. So when we accepted that offering, and then after a while, then there was a rug. A rug came along next. It's an orangish rug, perhaps to match, I don't know, maybe the matching colors or whatever. So it was an orangish rug, very, very soft, yes, very soft. I don't think even newborn babies get that much tenderness wrapped around them. And then they've said, then that was not enough. It was not enough for you. So then the even more power started coming in. So then there was this little red carpet, I keep saying carpet, pavade, that got laid down. So initially it was there from the car to the door. Right? That wasn't enough for you. And then there was from the door to the sofa. Another pavade came along. And that wasn't enough for you either. After that, next came some square pavade. So these were laid down just where Swaminathan puts his feet. So now for each Swaminathan, there's a square pavade, and that is where his feet are supposed to go. I'm very careful not to put my feet anywhere else. But be very careful, right? So That's where the feet go. Somewhere along the lines, around this time came another carpet. That was actually more of a rug into the lift. I mentioned about this previously. So initially, it was a large rug, and we all got into the lift, and including the Mahathas who hold the Muthukuda. But later on, they didn't like the fact that they were standing on the same rug as Swami Wahanse was. Right? So you didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. So then you started folding the rug. And now, if this is the size of the elevator, the rug is sort of placed on the side, just enough space for two Swami Wahanses to stand on, so that the gentlemen who come in, they don't have to tread on the rug. I see all of this. You think I don't see this, right? I see everything. See, I have two pairs of eyes. I was born with one and then I got this one. I see it all. I see it all because I love to see the beauty of all this. To me, beauty is not in color. It's not in the shape. It's not in the structure. It's not in the arrangement. It's in the intention. So then I know then once the lift comes up, there's going to be another welcome. So then, once it comes up to the fourth floor, second floor, right? We're on the second floor. So then the doors open, and then there's another power day. It's another power day. So the two gentlemen who are in the lift with us, they quickly run out, unfold their umbrellas, and then we are on our way. The power day guiding us as if we would get lost otherwise, guiding us into the main hall. And then, right at the entrance, there are always two gentlemen ready to give their heart's offerings. So, even today, what I felt was, I don't think they could have washed and wiped the feet of the Swami Wahanse any more tenderly, even if they tried. I don't think they could have been done any more tenderly. Like a father who strokes a little baby, the baby's head, bottom, whichever. So tenderly, so much love, so much devotion. It's not like going to the service center, right? You don't just hold a hose pipe. Because back in those days, Swami Wahanses had to travel on foot. So that is the origin of this tradition. Monks didn't have the luxury of transport like we do today back in those days. And besides, monks used to live in forests, in caves and outside of civilization, some of the time at least. And so when they would travel for alms or for a sermon, their feet would often get very dirty. And that is the origin of this tradition. So it gave everyone, it was actually the chief of the household who would receive the Swami Wahanse. And it was also a mark of humility, a mark of humbleness. So it didn't used to be the younger son or someone like that. It used to always be the father or the head of the family who would go and welcome the Swami Wahanse. So as he got on his knees, that was a symbol that we are on our feet, on our knees rather, ready to receive the Mahasanga into our humble abode. It was that symbol. And it also served the purpose of cleaning the Swami Wahanse's feet. And then his feet were wiped and invited into the house. The tradition has continued, perhaps not to serve the purpose of cleaning the Swami Wahanse's feet, because nowadays most footwear is available, so our feet don't get as dirty as they do. Now at our monastery, we have chosen not to wear footwear. There are very advantageous health reasons as well as to why not to wear footwear. So it's better for the health. But mainly, it just means less maintenance. If you had footwear, that's another thing to worry about. Now you know what it is like when you go to the temple and you leave your shoes, right? At the entrance. That's why typically what do people do? They leave one by the south entrance and the other one by the north entrance. Or you leave them both in the car before you go to the temple. Because it's not necessarily because there are people who might snatch it or steal it. It's because there are a lot of them, and a lot of them. If it's a very popular destination, then people can often get confused. Some people they just too many things going on in their head. As long as the shoe fits, they'll wear it. So, I think you may have lost more shoes at the temple than you have elsewhere. That's why you don't go as much to the temple. So then now you can leave your shoes in the car, and that helps with that. But that is where the tradition of washing the feet and drying the feet came into our practice. But the tradition has continued. It's an age-old tradition, and I'm glad that the tradition has continued because it gives people another opportunity to both welcome the Mahasanga and, of course, earn lots of merit by doing that. And especially I see, at Rajagiriya, every time there is someone who's there to do it, it's always done with so much love and so much devotion. It's just a marvel to watch at how you do it. And then the Swamin Wahanse is invited. You always have 2 trays of flowers for each Swamin Wahanse that comes in. And even those flowers are so elaborately laid down. It's not just a bunch of flowers on a tray. It's done to an exquisite degree with so much thought gone into it. Actually, it's a work of art, really, in addition to everything that's behind me. It's all very artistic. It's not the art necessarily that I'm praising here. It's the fact that you've put your heart and soul into it, ladies and gentlemen. That is what I really admire. Art is admirable because it requires one's exertion of commitment. To scribble something, it doesn't take much thought. But then to draw a nice wavy line that is perfectly symmetrical, that requires thought, doesn't it? Every flower arrangement that you have offered to the Swamin Wahanse so that they can take those flowers and offer to the Buddha has always been perfectly symmetrical. And you even choose to lay those flowers down in a certain pattern, which is very beautiful. To me, the beauty is not in the flowers. The beauty is in the intention with which you offer it, with which you prepare it. And then all this, all this. Even the tray of beetles, see? How elegant. This could have easily been done, Swami says, yeah, take this. Yeah, take this and do the sermon, will you? No, it's not like that. I can see your heart and soul in all of this. That is what matters. And each week, it's a new something. I can't quite, I don't know what's here. I usually see it because they send me before they upload to YouTube and those things, they always send it to me to make sure that what we publish is always to the standard that we like to maintain. One might question, why do you need a standard? It's because it speaks about refinement. It shows quality. We have to pay attention to these things. So at the monastery, if I see a piece of paper on the ground, I would pick it up. People might wonder why. Isn't that also anicca, dukkha and anatta? But yes, everything is anicca, dukkha and anatta. But we have to be welcoming and not, it is not arahants we invite to the monastery, right? We invite ordinary people. I'm an ordinary person. When I walked in through those gates, ladies and gentlemen, I was a very ordinary person. And when I walked in through those gates, there was no one back then. But now, we have created a loving atmosphere, a respecting atmosphere, a courteous atmosphere. And that is very important because people like to feel they're welcome. Just as every one of you feel when you walk into this room and into this community. You feel very welcome. You feel that there are people out there who care about your salvation, not about how much you have in your pocket. There's no need to buy a ticket as you walk in through these doors. Whether you come in with your month's paycheck or you come in empty-handed, you will always be received with the same smile, with the same welcome. You will be ushered to a seat. You'll be shown where the washrooms are. You'll be made to feel comfortable. Because courtesy costs nothing. And that courtesy is a mark of, what shall we say? Dignity, humanity, respect, indeed. Yes, it's a mark of respect. Because we understand that the mind, until it attains arahanthood, is a mind that looks for love, affection, respect, dignity, and all these good things. So we have to give them to people. So all of this I admire, I appreciate. If you ask me, is it beautiful, Swaminathan? I don't need to look behind me to tell you whether it's beautiful or not. Because it is not the color or the arrangement or the style or the way in which you have done it that is beautiful to me. It is the fact that you have brought yourself to do it. That inspiration within you, that deliberation within you, the desire within you to make that offering to the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and to help everyone here make them feel comfortable. So I see the beauty in all of these things, and I hope you do too. And as we are sat here, the gentleman comes and sets the microphone up, and he runs back to the other side of the room to make sure that the whole setup is done and you can listen to this comfortably. He's not a Buddhist by birth, but have you seen the way in which he respects the monk? He's not a Buddhist by birth, but he shows what it means to be a gentleman. Very welcoming, very warm, very affectionate and very respectable. This is all part of the package. It's all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is what Nibbāna is. All of this. You know, today, the strength that you have to do your day-to-day things, go about, do your work, comes from the food that you eat. You eat your rice, you eat your vegetables, you eat your fruit, you eat your whatever, you eat all your food, like this is solid food that you take. But today you are able to have these foods because when you were younger, your mother fed you what? What did your mother feed you? The milk that flowed out her own breast. That was the beginning. But that didn't give you enough energy or power to do the things that you do today. But had it not been for that beginning, there would not have been a point of any of this today. So those are very beautiful beginnings. Nature and nurture are both very important. You come with your own nature. Here you get nurturing. People come in with their own nature. They have their own tendencies, they have their own biases, maybe they have their own faculties. Some are stronger, some are not so strong, right? People will come in with all sorts of problems. Some may be very wise, others may not be so. Some might have a great amount of courage and determination within them. Others might not have as much. That is in their nature. Some may be quick-witted, others might not be. Some might be able to get and grasp the gist of a sermon just by listening to the first 10 minutes, and they know exactly what Swaminatha is going to be saying throughout the rest of the hour. Others might not get it even at the end of 2 hours. Maybe they understand it twice, having listened to the sermon twice. That is in their nature. That each and every one of us are responsible for, and we bring it with us when we come here. But nurture is not so. Nurture is what we create together. Together as one, and together for each and every one. All of that is Nibbāna. Every single bit of it is Nibbāna. I like that although here we discuss the Dhamma, sometimes a very profound Dhamma, in very analytical ways, and right, we try and find how we can integrate science into some of the things we do. Despite all that, you have not lost your roots. And I like that. I admire that. This has not become like a class where you just come in, bring your books, sit down, teacher comes in, gives a lecture, goes away, you go away. It's not become transactional. It hasn't become transactional, and I admire that. It's not a transaction. This is not I give you the Dhamma and you give me a birikara. Please, let's never make it that. Yeah? Please, let's never make it that. I give you some Dhamma, you give me some pirikara, and that's a deal. Let's not make it that, because then the essence of Nibbāna will be lost. Nibbāna is not tangible. That's why it's so difficult to get it across. It's not tangible. Besides, Nibbāna is not something I give you. It has to be born within you. I can only give you the Dhamma and then guide you in a way so that Nibbāna happens within you and it then begins to grow. It's spontaneous. Actually, it is spontaneous. It spontaneously occurs within you one day. And then like a little sapling, you have to then nurture it. Water it, feed it, shelter it, give it tender loving care, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and it then grows into a huge tree. And then underneath that tree, one day, yet more saplings will start to take root. And that's the way the sasana will prevail for the next 2,500 years. It is how it has always happened. It is how it is happening today, and it is how it will happen in the future. The day that this becomes transactional, we might as well call it a day. As much as these sermons can be pretty analytical, pretty academic at times even, and we bring props and these things and we draw things on the board and explain it by integrating science and all other facets of knowledge and all other domains of knowledge, and we try and integrate it with the Dhamma, right? But the day this becomes transactional, you feel like you're going to school again. That day is the day that something's gone wrong. I don't want this to feel like a day you're coming back to school. I want this to feel like you're coming back to your second home. That is what this should be. Because here your heart expands. I don't know, I think it was at the sermon we did at the monastery once, when you visited the monastery. Do you remember we talked about charity? And we said there were 2 types of charity. And then I quoted the saying, charity starts at home. Remember? And then I said, charity also ends at home. How does that happen? Do you recall? Charity starts at home. Charity ends at home as well. For that to be the case, your home should grow. So today your home might just be the people who live under your roof. Under the same roof, that is who you call home. What the Dhamma helps you do is to expand the perimeter of your home. So charity will always be at home. Nowhere else, it won't go anywhere. Today home, next day the next door neighbors, After that, neighboring town. No, not so. It'll always be at home. But what you mean by home, that is what changes. Until one day, the whole world feels home to you. Even on that day, what will you still say? Charity starts at home. That's why I said charity starts at home, it stays at home, and it ends at home. Allow the boundaries, the perimeter of your home to expand. If today you can see, it might be back then you were a very close-knit person. Maybe you and your family, and that is all you cared about. Perhaps that is all you cared about. As long as you were happy, your husband or your wife was happy, your children were happy, maybe you didn't even have much time to think about your parents. Perhaps, that's possible in this day and age. It's possible. Maybe there are parents here who are victims of that. This generation Z, or whatever we call ourselves, there's not much time to care about a lot. All we can care about are the immediate people who satisfy us, who provide for us. And that's a very selfish way to look at it. I care about the people who care about me. Yuck. Don't subscribe to that. I care about the people who care about me. Don't subscribe to that. Don't be that kind of person. I'll give you a better one. You care about the people who don't know yet how to care for themselves, let alone for others. Take that on board. That should be your ethos, your slogan, if you like. If you want a personal slogan, someone asks you, who do you care about? I care about people who are not strong enough to care about themselves or to take care of themselves, let alone take care of others. I'm here to take care of them. So you're here, you should be here to take care of people who can't take care of themselves, just as a mother does for her child. Mātaya dhaniyam puttam ayusa eka puttam anurakhe. This is how the Buddha advises us to spread metta, compassion. Now ask yourself the same. Perhaps some time ago, you were just someone who was very family-centered, maybe. Initially, we are all self-centered. That's all we care about. Me. Me all day, that's it, me. I don't care how my mother feels, my father feels, my brother feels, my sister feels. I don't care how about the rest of my family feels. As long as I'm okay, the whole world is okay. See, we should turn that around on its head. Here's what the selfish man says. As long as I'm okay, the whole world is okay. You've got to turn it around on its head. What does the selfless man say? As long as the whole world is okay, then I'm okay. These are philosophies. And it matters not whether you're a Buddhist, a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu. What religion are we talking about here? This is the religion of humanity. Adopt that mantra. Adopt that as your personal slogan, I invite you. If you don't have one already, then try this for a week. As long as the whole world is okay, I'm okay. So if you can't go the whole world at once, try and expand a little bit further on from yourself. Right at the beginning, as long as I'm okay, I'm sure the whole world is okay. That's where we all start, but we can never stop there because that is a very egocentric, very self-centered, and very... it's a pity when people limit themselves to that because we are capable of so much more than that. But if that's where you are right now, you can expand one step ahead. Right? Maybe you can come to this. As long as my family is okay. I know most of you are already beyond that. Right? But we are doing it one step at a time. So if you're someone, I don't need to teach you how to be. If I'm okay, everything's okay. That I don't need to teach you because we are all born with that. If that hadn't been there, we wouldn't have come into samsara in the first place. Which one? Self-centric. If I'm okay, the whole world is okay. If it hadn't been for that, we wouldn't have been in samsara. So we are still in samsara, right? Are you? Okay, just checking. So we can expand one step. Think about your family. So how about we get to this point? For those of you who are yet to encroach that space, step into that space, you have a good day when you know your mom's happy, your father's happy, your brother's happy, your sister's happy. If you have a maid at home, she's happy or he's happy. If you have a chauffeur, he's happy. If you have someone who does the handiwork at home, he's happy. Who knows, maybe you're kings and you have a palace full of people who are at your beck and call, right? So everyone who lives under the same roof as you, if they're happy, I'm happy. This does not mean that your happiness is to be dependent on theirs. No, that's not what I mean by this. I don't want you to understand that as well, because if happiness is dependent on something, then you cannot teach others to be independently happy either. My qualification to come and talk to you is that my happiness does not depend on you being happy. That is my qualification to speak to you. Did you get that? What is my qualification to speak to you? My happiness is not dependent on you being happy. So that is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is this. The people who live with you, if you know that they are not happy, in other words, if you know that they don't know how to look after themselves, and I don't mean this financially, socially, economically, I don't mean it in those terms, right? I mean this in a more spiritual way. In a more spiritual way. If the people who live with you, who trust you, who care about you, right? We are still there. People who care about you. If you know that they don't have the means to look after themselves, in other words, when they are troubled, they're really troubled. They need someone to support them, to get themselves back on their feet. When they break down, fall down, they need someone to come and lift them up, because they cannot stand up by themselves. Meaning they're still very dependent. They're very dependent. Consider it your privilege. Consider it your privilege. Don't take this on as a duty. Consider it your privilege to help them become independently happy. Speak into a room of husbands and wives. If you truly care about your spouse, about your other half, help them, guide them, support them, teach them if you must, to be happy. What? Without you. Some of you are saying, Swaminathan, he is already happy without me. Actually, he's happiest without me. But all kidding to aside, if you really care, if you truly care, my mother, I remember, I think I shared the story with you, when the day I realized that my mother was going to die. That was a shocker to me. I didn't realize that she was going to die. And then one fine day, she broke that news to me. Not that she's got a terminal illness or something. She said eventually she was going to die. I was like, what? I didn't expect that. I didn't sign up for that. But that was the day that I realized that my parents were going to die, and one day I would have to bid farewell to them. I remember crying my eyes out. I went into a room to shut the door, and just locked myself in the room and just cried and cried and cried for about a whole day. And then I eventually picked up the courage to come out and said, right, now help me. Either you stop your imminent death or the death that is about to happen, or tell me how to be okay without it. And they were speechless. So even back then I was looking for relief from death. It was not death necessarily. It was not death per se. It was the grief that comes with death. I think I told you the other day, my interpretation of the 4 sights when the Bodhisattva, Prince Siddhartha, he went out of the palace. And the scriptures say that he saw an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a hermit. Yeah? And then for the first time in his material life, he'd realized that people are going to grow old, fall ill, and die. So, I can't help but ask the question, had he never asked anyone where his mother was? Like his maternal, like his actual mother, his biological mother, had he never questioned that from anyone? And if he had, what would they have said? Unanswered questions. I'm not suggesting anything, but I'm just saying these are questions to which my curious little mind seeks answers. With the Dhamma, I have managed to tame that curious mind of mine. I used to be far more too curious for my own good. Let's just put it that way. I had to question everything. Everything I had to question. And until I got an answer that I was happy with, people didn't like to hang around very much. They knew if they said the first thing about something to me, I would want the 100th thing and everything in between. I remember I had this strong curiosity because I wanted to learn something so well that I could teach it to someone, whenever questioned. Even back at uni, I remember this. When my teachers used to teach something, when I was in my second year, I signed up to this program where you could teach the first years. And the university used to pay as well. How's that for size? So we got paid for that. So in my second year, I used to teach the first years, and the third year, I used to teach the first and second years. So I always liked to learn as much as I possibly could, so that if someone asked me a question about something in my domain, something I knew, I could explain to them in enough detail that they would go away convinced. I really had that feeling that I had to be prepared, because I wanted to teach not for the sake of it, but to help ensure that they knew what they had asked me about. Maybe that is what is helping us here today as well. If you want Nibbāna, I have to learn enough of what Nibbāna is so that when you come here, you walk away with no confusion, no question marks, no what about this, what about that. As long as it's related to Nibbāna, I should be able to explain it to you. So I'm jumping from one thing to the other. Where were we? Mother, yes. So I asked my mother, not what will be. I asked her, how do you stop death? Either teach me how not to grieve your death, or do something to not die. And of course, she had neither. She could offer me neither. So from that moment, I was very troubled by that. Later on, I discovered the Dhamma. So as I said, I feel that Prince Siddhartha was looking for something similar. This is not me trying to draw parallels between me and the great prince, okay? If he's the Himalayas, I'm just a speck of dust. This is not me trying to do that, but what I'm saying is, I feel a curious mind would look for answers in that way. So when he saw the old man, he figured old age happens to everyone, but why are people sad about it? Sadness does not come with old age, but people seem to be sad about it. People seem to be bothered and worried about it with old age. How come that happens? Because sadness is not in old age, right? So what's that connection? And that is the connection he wanted to find out. What is that connection that links old age and sorrow? Sickness and sorrow. Because what is sick is the body. So how is the mind vexed about it? Which I feel would have been a very pertinent question for someone as curious and intelligent as the prince. This is the man who is going to become the supremely enlightened one. No wonder. He must have had such questions. Then he saw a dead man. The dead man is dead. He's not worried. How come everyone else is worried and crying and grieving that man's death? One guy dies, another man grieves. Makes no sense, right? So that is what I feel, that is what he was trying to get his head around. How does that work? So he went on a quest. And then he saw the hermit. And the sight of the hermit convinced him that there are people who are looking looking to answer this riddle. There were people looking for the solution to this problem. How come old age, sickness, and death are a source of fear, sorrow, grief, pain, psychological pain, when the two things have no connection, no apparent connection? Therefore, he went looking for the answer. And then he discovered it. And then he uttered, Tanhai Jayati Soko, Tanhai Jayati Bhayam, Tanhai Vipamutta Sanati Soko Kuto Bhayam. See, he discovered it. He realized, if I stay at home, I'm not going to find the answer to this, because no one at home is going to give me the answers. I asked my father, he wants to give me the kingdom. I asked my wife, she wants to give me a child. This is not what I want. I want to find out how come old age, sickness, and death are cause for fear, grief, and sorrow to people, to mankind. I must go and discover the answers for myself. And so he renunciated. That makes sense, doesn't it? That makes sense. See, I understand. I speak to an intelligent audience. Because if I tell you the same story, Siddhartha saw an old man for the first time, then you will ask me inevitably, Swaminatha, come on Swaminatha, you again, of all people, this is what you will tell. At least you will think this. If you want, out of respect, not say it out loud to me. Swaminatha, weren't there any old people at the palace? Wasn't his father aging? Had he not seen just one grey hair on his father's chest even? Is that what you're suggesting? I mean, he's lived there for 28 long years, the prince, right? How come he hadn't seen one grey hair? And how come he never had the good mind to ask what had happened to his mother, who died 7 days after he was born? So you would have asked me the same questions. So before you ask me those questions, I'll give you the answer. So now those questions are no longer questions. To that, he couldn't figure out the solution. So when he asked Channa, what did Channa say? Prince, it's the fact of the matter is, we must all age, and we all fall ill, and we all die. That's just a fact of life. We must just embrace that. It's not to question, just to accept. It's just to accept. But the prince was not happy with that. So I'm sure the prince must have asked Channa, so surely someone has found the answer to this. And then Channa would have said, no, don't ask me. No, as far as I know, no one's got the answer to this. Well, then someone has to go find it. Who's that man? That is a hermit. What do? They go looking for answers to problems like this. Ah, really? So no wonder the prince couldn't sleep that night. He was thinking, well, there are people out there who are looking for answers to these problems. Right, so now we've infused some sense into that story, right? I talked to you this about before, but we are back there. Where did that come from? Mother? Where did mother come from? Come on, where's the breadcrumb? I'm like Hansel and Gretel, we get lost. Thank you, madam. Yes. So, when you are, as you grow, as you mature in the Dhamma, you go from being someone who thinks that if I'm okay, the whole world is okay, to someone who eventually comes to the point where you believe and you think, you know, that I'm okay when the whole world is okay. That's why I say, now go think about your family, the people who share a home with you. If they're not happy, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not suggesting that you go take them out for a meal, take them out for dinner. That's not what I'm suggesting, because you don't need me to suggest that to you. That's what you might have done and have been doing. It's not about bringing a cake, cutting it, singing a birthday song, blowing out some candles and trying to entertain them. Entertainment is the worldly answer. If someone's not happy, what are you supposed to do? Entertain them. That's the worldly answer. Swaminathan is not here to tell you or to remind you to entertain people. I'm here to suggest to you that you must enlighten people. Help enlighten them. Enlighten them. Teach them how to be happy in their own right. Show them how to do that. Show them how to do what you have been able to do for yourself today. That is true love. That's why I was talking on the point earlier. Husband and wife, if you truly love each other, true love to me, the mark of true love, true respect, true devotion and true commitment to one another is to show the other person how they can be happy without the other. Otherwise their happiness is always dependent. Meaning you're always at risk and you can't take that risk away. For as long as I'm here, I'll provide for you, but it's always going to be for as long as. For as long as. And what guarantee can you give that you're going to be here for as long as they're going to be here? What guarantee can you give? You have invited them into a ticking time bomb. That is marriage. Isn't it? I'm not suggesting that one or the other might forsake the other. It's not that. But death takes you at any time. You don't set the agenda for when death strikes. Then, what if one of you is paralyzed? Right? Then from that day on, you're bedridden. You can't do much at all. You can't speak. Say, you've lost your vocal capacity, your vocal faculty. You can't speak, you can't move. Now you're just like a vegetable on a bed. Now then the rest of the other person's life is going to be to look after you. They might do it. They might. I can't give you guarantees either. They might do it. But if it is them, if it is they who become paralyzed, in that case, now you might be there to look after them. You can feed them, wash them, turn them around and give them their medicines on time and all that. But the intense psychological pain that comes with disablement, incapacity, you can't shake that off. The Dhamma is the only refuge. Today you can entertain your family because they can walk with you, go to the party with you, go out with you, go to the park with you, right? Watch a film with you, eat with you, dine with you. They can do all these things with you. So then you can entertain them because they are receptive to your entertainment. But what if there comes a day where they go blind, deaf? They can't move around, bedridden. Now, how do you entertain them? You can't now take them bowling. You can't take them to a game of cricket. You can't take them to the dinner. You can't do any of those things. In fact, the rest of you will go. You just have to remind them, take your medicines on time, we'll be back by 10. Because you can't stay at home. You have other obligations and duties to fulfill. But this person is now going to be at home. And what if that is your wife and you're the husband? Your colleagues have invited you to a night out. If you say no to that, then you are going to fall out with your colleagues at work. Then you become the antisocial one. Then people won't like you anymore. But you have to hold your job as well. You know the drill, right? Where must you be on Friday evenings? Where must you be on Friday after work? Yeah, you know where. You know where. It's virtually a must. It's a must do. It's part of the culture. If you don't do that, then you become very anti-cultural, anti-social. You become a social piranha. Then you stick out like a sore thumb. People don't like you then. So even if you don't drink, if you don't take alcohol, you still have to sip on a Coca-Cola or something. You have to do something. But now your wife, she's at home, she's in bed. She can't move. You'll be a good husband. You'll change her nappy before you go because she can't change herself. Right? She's now pooing all herself. She's wet in the bed. She can't do anything for herself. You'll be the loving husband you are, but now you have to leave. But now she's home alone. No? You can have a caretaker, yes, but a caretaker is a caretaker. That's a job for them. By which I'm not suggesting that caretakers don't take their job seriously and they're not conscientious about their work. They might be, but that's the best I can go. They might be. I can't say they are. They might be. What if they're not? Now, let me show you another place where you get stuck and there's no way out of this, right? In-laws. In-laws. She married you, but what else did she get? The in-laws. You married her, but what comes as part of the package? In-laws. See, you can't do without them. You just can't. It comes as part of the package. It's like you were born to eat, but you have to go to the toilet as well, right? I'm not suggesting that it's the same thing. I don't know where that came from. But you get the idea, right? You like to eat, but you don't like what happens 6 hours later. It's smelly, it stings, it's ugly. You don't even look at it and you have to flush it down. That's not a part you enjoy doing. But the eating part you enjoy. A bit like? At least a bit like? So, the thing is this, right? So, you bring your wife home, you go to the honeymoon, do all that, you bring your wife home, and now she's at home, but the in-laws, your parents are at home as well. Now she has to learn to get along with them. They have to learn to get along with her, and 9 times out of them, there's going to be friction, conflict. 9.9 times out of 10. And that's a conservative figure. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be friction. So if you really love her, which you do, I'm sure you do, you got to do more than provide for her. So when you say, I'm happy if my wife is happy, don't stop at, I'm happy if my wife has everything she needs to wear, has everything she likes to eat, has all her makeup, has her jewelry, has a nice house, she has the house upholstered the way she wants it, it's all furnished the way she wants it. Don't stop there. That's entertaining her. I'm not talking about entertainment, I'm talking about enlightening her. That's a duty that every husband has. And likewise, if you're the wife, if you're the better half because, what is our definition of better half at Rajagiriya? The half that comes to the sermons, right? Whichever half comes to the sermon, that's the better half, right? So if you're the better half, and the other half is at home, maybe that is a husband then. Don't stop at entertaining him. So cooking 3 square meals for him, preparing whatever he asks for, making the bed, right? this, that and the other, being okay with his parents and putting up with all that, putting up with all the fuss, cleaning up after him, right? Putting all his in the cupboard, doing his washing, right? Maybe that is what you do. But I'm saying all of that is entertainment. Entertaining his colleagues, that is all part of entertainment. But if you're the better half, and if you really care, you must enlighten, not just stop at entertainment. Then you can say, my charity has grown from me to my home, to everyone at home. Most parents are very committed to providing their children with a good education, meals, pretty much anything they ask for. But these are all again material things. And I understand you have to give your children a good education, because without an education, it's very difficult to survive in this day and age. Yes, absolutely, I completely get that. And that is why we have an education institution at the monastery even. Children who we see in the future becoming arahants, yet we educate them. Why have we done a Little Britain? Or why are we doing a Little Britain? All of us together. It's because we understand the value of education. Education opens doors. It helps us reach corners of the globe in ways that we would not be able to if we hadn't had it. Today, perhaps I'm on this stage for two reasons. One is the Dhamma, and two is because of some amount of education that I've had, which has enabled me to reach you in ways that I might not be able to had I only had the skill of language. So I can relate to you, we can resonate with each other. So that is important, yes, completely. I completely get that. But we mustn't stop there. To say that you're happy when your family is happy, you need to ensure that your child, your daughter, your son, the apple of your eye, ladies and gentlemen. I know you are committed and devoted to. Maybe the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha are the only three things that you are more devoted to, committed to, than your own children. But even that only comes after you have understood the Dhamma a little bit, at least. Otherwise, before then, before everything comes children. So the duty of enlightening is not one you can shake off. Therefore, grow your charity, the perimeter of your charity, and incorporate everything into your home. You know, I don't mean this literally. I mean, grow the boundaries of your home. So that when you say charity, you think of the whole world. So if you're done with you, expand it to your family. Once you're done with your family, then expand it out, extend it out to your friends, maybe your relations, your closest relations. When we do metta, right, meditation, and you might have done this in many places, on many occasions, usually there's this way that you chant, right? So first you do myself, then you focus your compassion on your family, then you focus your compassion on your friends or your extended family, and then maybe sometimes you do it in particular directions, north, south, and so on. Other times you do my hometown, then village, and then you expand out to your country, and then to the whole world. Right? That is one way of doing metta, contemplating metta. It's not necessarily the approach that is wrong. So nothing wrong really. What I want you to do is to incorporate more meaning into this, into that practice of metta. You're already familiar with extending it outside your home, to your workplace, to your friends, to your relations, to your neighbors, to your hometown, to your village, to your country. You're already familiar with that. What I suggest is, give it more meaning. And think of it in these terms. Which terms? How do we help individuals who are in that scope, whichever scope you can reach out to, are equipped with the essence of the truth, so that they can be independently happy. Now, think about this for a second. We all come here on Sundays, don't we? Could I not spread my compassion to you from the monastery? Could I not do that? I mean, I can take a picture of all of you, I'd put it up on my wall, and sit down in the Valley Maluga or somewhere, look at each of your faces and go, compassion. May they be happy, may they be well. Next one, may they be happy, may they be well. Next one, may they be happy, may they be well. Next one, may they be happy, may they be in the well. No. I could do that all day long and spread my compassion and loving kindness. That would be metta meditation. You've heard this kind of metta meditation. You might have even done this kind of metta meditation. Would you rather that, or would you rather I come here on a Sunday and teach you the Dhamma? Which would you rather? But if I did that, I would take a profile picture of each and every one of you. You can even put down your name, your age, your Bodhugovian, your ancestry. You can give me your biodata on the picture, and I can take it in my hand. I can read the full, what your origins are, where you are from, who your parents are, what education you've had, the full thing. And then I look at you in the picture, and then I give my metta. May you be well, may you be happy, may you live long, may you prosper. I can do it, say, for 15 minutes per person. Or let's say I do one every day. The whole day I take this good lady's picture and I give my compassion and loving kindness and this and then only to her, just her, for a whole day. A whole day. Can you believe that, madam? A whole day, just for you. And the following day, what do? I take this good lady's picture and then I stare at that. That's all I do. I sit down in my meditative pose and then first I read her biodata so I know where she is, whereabouts she might be, right? And so I can kind of envision what she must be like and then spread my compassion to her. I can do that for the whole day. And then I can do the same for each and every one of you. Spread my compassion and loving kindness. But when I come here, how much time do we get at best? 2 hours, if I lose track of time? Maybe 3, right? That's the most we get. So which would you rather? Me give you the whole day? Come on. Surely you must favor that, right? I give you a whole day's worth of compassion just for you. Completely focused on you, no one else. I don't see anyone else. I just take that picture. You can give it me an A4 size picture as well. Would you rather that? Oh, I come here and give you the Dhamma. Why? Why do you prefer this to that? What does this give you? Independence. This gives you independence. This gives you empowerment. That is why you prefer this. To energize, enlighten and empower, right? Yes. That is what the Dhamma does. But I only see you for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours at most. And then you are gone on your own. But what have I just given you? I've given you a teacher. The Dhamma becomes your teacher. And then that teacher lives with you throughout the day. Constantly being vigilant of your every action. Reminding you when you start to go astray. Come back to the noble path. Reminding you when you walk up to the kitchen, when you're not hungry and you start opening the fridge and you see that cake and your arm reaches out and then the teacher says, hey, At least you will let it happen 3 times before you reach out for it and eat it, right? At least 3 attempts, right? So Swaminivas will come into your mind the first time, second time, third time, Swaminivas. I tried 3 times, Swaminivas, come on. Even the Buddha gave up on the 3rd occasion. Why are you so adamant? See, isn't that what empowers people? Then which one do you think is the better kind of metta? I staring at your picture, chanting Siraloka Sivasatyo, or I giving you the Dhamma so that in your heart the fire of desire begins to extinguish, the fire of aversion begins to extinguish, and the fire of delusion begins to extinguish, whereby you become the source of your own metta. Would you rather borrow my candle or use my candle to light up yours? Which one? Here's what happens if you borrow my candle. When that candle burns out, you'll be like in the dark. But if you learn how to light up your candle with mine, as that candle begins to burn out, all you need to do is go fetch another candle. And then from your own candle, you can light the next one. When will you be in the dark? You will never have to be in the dark again. Which one of those two is metta? Or is the better kind of metta? Let's not say that the first is not metta. Okay, which one of those two is the better kind of metta? Well, the jury's out on that, I think. It is what you have me do on Sundays. It is what we are doing on Sundays. So, now I can come to the point where I can say, I am happy when you're all happy. When I sit on this seat, that becomes my responsibility. That is my responsibility. I am happy when you're happy. But that doesn't mean I come here to entertain you. That is a bonus, whenever that happens. But my responsibility here is to help you light your own candles. Because when you have lit your own candle, then you are happy on your own self, on your own account. In your own right, you can be happy. Then I'm happy. But that does not mean that my candle is only lit if you light yours. Do you see the analogy and how fitting it is? You bring your candles here. Let's say your candles are still unlit, right? The fact that your candles are not lit yet, now this is just an analogy, okay? I'm not saying that it's not. My candle being alive or being lit is not contingent on your candles being lit. I can light yours. Or you can come up to me and get yours lit and walk away. You can do that. But if yours goes out, that has no effect on mine. I'm prepared to light it back again. All you have to do is come up to me. And I can do it 100 times. Because it doesn't cost me anything. When you take a bit of the flame, it doesn't reduce the flame. You just take away that energy. Nothing, it does no harm. It does not put out the flame of this candle. And that is why that kind of metta is very powerful. So now I can say, sat on this seat, by your invitation, right? That is what you do when you bring this up here. By your invitation, sat on this seat, I can say, I can make this claim that I am going to be happy when you are happy. In other words, when you take the Dhamma and you become independent, that is my task accomplished. So now my world has grown from what was myself alone, where I used to say, I'm happy if the whole world must be happy if I'm happy. So I didn't care much about anyone else. It then grew to my family. Then it grew to the monastery. And then I spread my wings. And now we have come to the point where we can say, I'm happy when the whole world is happy. That is what I encourage you to be. It shouldn't matter to you, ladies and gentlemen, whether someone is your relation, someone is your brother or your sister, or someone is a blood relation of yours. It shouldn't matter to you. When you see someone is unhappy, and I'm not talking about the beggar on the street here, this is nothing to do with material transactions, right? Please understand that. I'm not suggesting that you must now go withdraw money from your bank accounts and try and go sharing it out with everyone. That is not what I'm suggesting here. I hope you're taking this in the same sense that I'm trying to give it to you. This is about your purpose as a human being. And it costs nothing to do this. Just as it costs me nothing to do this, costs you nothing to do this. Your purpose as a human being should be to spread as much love, compassion, and the truth to as many people as you possibly can. Let's be honest, most people in this room are here today because of you. Thank you. Most people in this room are here because of you. Someone you invited, someone whose hand you held and walked in, someone who you offered your spare seat in the car as you drove up here, said, hey, there's a spare seat, would you like to come? There's a free sermon and a free sandwich. There are many people in this room who are here because yet others. But that is metta. Think about that metta. So you become a source of metta to others. How much does that cost? Costs nothing. Costs nothing. Whenever we talk about charity, don't immediately focus on your bank accounts. It can become almost a habit of some people. That is all, I sometimes see some people are like this, right? Some people are so poor that all they have is money. Don't be that person. Do you understand what I'm saying? Some people are so poor, all they have is money. Don't be poor. Have a rich heart. When you have a rich heart, it doesn't matter even if you had no money. It doesn't matter. People will love to still be around you. Become so valuable that people love to hang around you even if you don't have a penny to your name. Become so valuable. Become priceless. Become so valuable inside in your heart. Expand your heart, grow your heart, and be a source of compassion and loving kindness such that people who will want to associate with you will not care. It won't matter to them whether you're rich or you're poor. But you know what I mean when I say there may be some people who like to hang around you, who go to the same clubs, the same parties, the same places where you go because they know that you have something. And they've always got their eyes. They've always got their eyes on your purse, on your wallet, on your pocket, into your bank account. They're always waiting for you to give them some love, that kind of love. Dollar love. That's what they're after. I'm not saying they're evil, I'm not saying they're wicked. It is their vexation, right? But if you can become priceless, see, they're after your money, not you. They're after your connections, not you. If you're a well-connected individual, then people will come and gather around you because you're well-connected. Don't you see this happening in society? If you were poor today and had no friends or didn't have the job that you have today, and if you're poor today, probably 9 out of the 10 people that you know today would walk away. If you had no money today, if you went bankrupt, think about this seriously. If you went bankrupt today and you lost your job and lost all your connections, permit me to make this bold claim that 9 out of your 10 friends will walk away. because they will have no more use for you. It is the shocking truth. Just because someone hangs around with you, talks with you, gives you a call every other weekend, don't think that they are your best friend. And that they're with you because they truly love you. Maybe what they love is in your pocket. And they're just trying to sweet talk you. But you can't change them. You can't change their ways or means because that's how the world works, right? That's how people are. They're vexed. It's not because they're bad, they're just vexed, and the only hope they have is if they can get something, money or some wealth, then they can get what they want, and that's the only hope they have. But if you can become someone who is precious inside, who's valuable inside, whose worth cannot be measured by the amount of money they have. And how do you become that? By becoming a source of love and compassion. That is accessible to everyone. To be rich, perhaps you have to have come from a good family. Maybe it's an inheritance you have to have. Otherwise, you have to work really hard. So it either requires hard work, labor and hard work, or to be born into a good family, to be born with a silver spoon in one's mouth. These might be the two options, or to win the lottery. That could be a third option. So then it's not accessible to everyone. But what I'm talking about, that is accessible to everyone. Anyone and everyone can become priceless, invaluable in their internal worth. That is by becoming a blessing to the people around you. How do you become a blessing to the people around you? By being someone who has the answer to their problems, the ultimate answer. People love their bank managers, but if their bank manager is in the house, I warn you, it's not you they love. People love their lawyers, but if there are lawyers in the house, I warn you, it's not you they love. People love their teachers, they say, but if you're a teacher, I warn you, it's not you they love. It is either your money, your knowledge, or who you have access to. These are things that most people love. But if you can go beyond that, become someone who is worth intrinsically, whose value is in who they have become, by growing, maturing, spiritually, that is not something that can be taken from you because it is you. Your compassion is you, but your money is you. Can I say that? Your money is you. Can I say that? No. Your money is not you. So when you have no money, then people will have no reason to be with you. But if you're compassionate, that is you. If you're kind, that is you. That cannot be taken away from you. To experience that, people have to be with you, because that is you. So think about that. Have those as ideals in your lives as well. I know you do already, but give that a little bit more focus. Give that a little bit more attention. Your internal worth is in who you can become, not in what you have. What we have today, we need for our survival, to live a comfortable life. But to be happy, it's not what you have that matters, it's who you are that matters. To become a better who you are. And the Dhamma is the path to that. Anicca, Dukkha and Anatta is here to serve one purpose. And that one purpose, ladies and gentlemen, is to help you become a better you. You know it's not going to give you anything into your bank balance, not going to add anything to your bank balance. You know it's not going to give you a bigger house, a better car, or a better anything. Right? It's not going to give you those material things. Despite knowing all that, you're still here, which means you're not here for any of that. And probably it's costing some of you quite a bit to be here on a Sunday morning. It probably is. Maybe if you worked a Sunday morning, you could be earning more. Perhaps if you're in a meeting with your clients, you could be earning more. Maybe you could be signing more contracts and doing better for your business. But still you choose to be here. You choose to be here because you understand that the Dhamma is not about adding more to what you have, but it's about adding more to who you are. Exactly. Who you are is more important than what you have. So for that purpose, we must talk about anicca, dukkha and anatta. The sixth precept that we observe on Sundays is actually one of the toughest precepts to adhere to. It is one of the toughest ones. In fact, if you can tick that one off, you have ticked all the other ones off. See, it talks about sabba sattesu metta sahagatena cetasa viharanam samadhyami. To be compassionate and to have loving kindness towards all sentient beings. Not mage paule sattesu. No, right? What is it? Sabba sattesu. Where do you draw the boundary? Nowhere. What if there are aliens in some other planets? Then you can't even say that the boundary is this blue planet. Matters not. Wherever there is a chitta, wherever there is a mind, there your compassion must thrive, must prevail. Sabba sattesu. This is one of the toughest precepts to adhere to and to practice. In fact, even if you dropped all the other 5 precepts, this precept alone can take you to your salvation. Oh, I promise you that. See, think about it this way. If sabba sattesu metta sahagatena cetasa viharanam samadhyami is how you live your life, right? Compassionate and loving kindness towards all sentient beings. Tell me, would you take a life? Would you take another's life? Would you take another's life? No. Then panatipata is no longer relevant. Would you steal something that is precious or important to someone else? Would you? No. Because sabba sattesu metta sahagatena cetasa viharanam samadhyami. You are compassionate towards all sentient beings, so why would you take something that belongs to someone? Because it's going to hurt them. It's going to worry them. So you wouldn't do that. Then, kamesu miccāchāra veramani. That is the third precept. To indulge in sensual misbehaviors. You know that whenever you engage in something like that, not when you, people, let's put it this way, otherwise it's like an insult. I don't want to insult any of you because you don't deserve an insult. But, if someone does that, let's say, an example would be if someone who you have trusted, let's put it that way, then it's easy to understand. Someone in whom you have placed your trust engages in something of that nature with another. What does that do to you? How does that make you feel? Distraught. It destroys you. Then you cannot trust anyone from there on. It completely destroys you. You're disgusted, you're destroyed, it completely disrupts everything. Whatever you held true is gone from there on. So then, if you understand that that is the impact it has on others, and then you're compassionate and have loving kindness towards others, would you ever indulge in such behavior? Would you ever engage in such behavior knowing the impact, the effect that it has on others? So, I'm not suggesting that just by observing that precept, desires will disappear. Desires will still be there until you have comprehended the Dhamma. Desires will still be there, but you know that I shall not engage in this kind of behavior because if I do, it's going to hurt people. It's going to harm people. It's going to destroy people. And I can't do that. My fire is mine alone. I cannot spread this fire to others. If you have compassion and loving kindness towards others, ladies and gentlemen, then you don't really need another precept called kamesu miccāchāra veramani. It is built in to what Sabba Sattesu actually encompasses. Then you have the fourth one, Musavada, lying, tall tales, tricking, deception, fooling. If you have loving kindness and compassion towards others, let me ask you this question. Would you ever deceive your mother with a lie? I don't mean in a world, I don't mean like a white lie. No, not in that way. That's the thing, we live in such a corrupt world that I can't even use something as holy as mother and father because people still lie and deceive them as well. I can't even use mother and father as examples here. And then I can't even turn the roles around and ask, as a mother, would you ever deceive your son? Because even that happens. All because there's no loving kindness, there's no compassion. But if there's loving kindness and compassion in your hearts to all sentient beings, you would never deceive because you will treat others the way you want to be treated. If something hurts you, you know that such behavior, such conduct is only going to hurt another, so you will not behave in that manner. And then finally, Suramere Majjapama. Little bit? It's not about little bit. It's about intoxicating. It's about intoxicating minds. Today we have distilled it. Forgive me for using the word distilled. It's the worst context in which I could have used that. But today we have undermined the scope of that precept to something like taking alcohol or liquor or something like that. But actually this is about intoxicating minds. When someone's drunk or inebriated, right, the effect of that is short-lived. Once they are back to sobriety, right, they're back doing their own thing. But if you intoxicate one's mind, if you insert wrong drushti, that the world is pleasurable. See how certain things you have picked up from your friends, many bad behaviors, many bad ways of thinking you picked up from your friends and the people that you associated with. Like, where did you pick up your love for watching films? One might say, well, isn't that a harmless habit? Well, is it harmless? Is it so harmless as you think it is? It's not as harmless as you think it is. It's an indulgence. What about your indulgence in food? Maybe your friends, friend relations, people you have associated with who have put those seeds into your head and then they took root and then they planted there and now they have grown to big huge trees and there are some feelings, desires that you can't even control. But when you want it, you want it. You can't do without it. Now if I take one example like smoking, then most people get it. Okay, I get it now. Because most of the time people want to give up the habit, but it's difficult to come out of it. But it's not just that, ladies and gentlemen. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. These are all intoxications, intoxicants to the mind. Because when the mind seeks pleasure in sight, sound, smell, taste and touch, Nibbāna goes out the door. See, now think about it. You have been coming to these sermons and you have been understanding the Dhamma, right? Comprehending the Dhamma, and now you have become to realize that pleasure does not exist in sight, sound, smells, in the external world, right? You have begun to understand that pleasure does not exist in the external world. Now, I'm certain of this. When you hang around your friends, your family, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that you are less inclined to invite, encourage, entice people to indulge and engage in sensually indulgent activities as you used to do. in comparison to what you used to do. Perhaps those days, you didn't think twice before inviting someone to watch a movie, go to a party, go out dancing, singing, whatever, right? But now you think about this carefully. You think, oh, hold on a second. Isn't this pleasure that I'm inviting them to indulge in? But pleasure doesn't exist in these things, so the more I do this, the more they become entrapped in this sensual world, the harder it gets for them to come out of samsara. So even if I can't give them the Dhamma, right? Even if I can't give them the Dhamma and they're not receptive to the Dhamma, at least I can do them a favor and not indulge them, not encourage them to engage in even more sensual acts, which will only keep digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. See, you have now begun to look at your people that you associate with in that manner because you have compassion and loving kindness. Sabba sattesu metta sahagatena cetasa viharanang samadhyami. So, you see, the fifth precept is also covered in the sixth one. That's why it's very difficult to adhere to and to live by the sixth precept, because that requires a profound understanding of the truth. So actually, when we first started precepting you with the sixth precept, it was an invitation for you to come on this journey of Dhamma. And you accepted that invitation. I remember like it was today. You accepted that invitation. I said, I'm going to give you a precept. It's going to be very difficult to adhere to. And you all said, yes, we'll do it, Swaminatha. If you can observe that one precept, you will have observed all other 5 precepts. This is 5 in 1 with the sixth precept. But there's only one way you can actually be true to that precept. For that, the fire of desire must have begun and should continue to extinguish in your heart. And there's only one thing that can do that. Anicca, dukkha and anatta. So you see, to observe the sixth precept and to adhere to it, it is incumbent upon you to contemplate anicca, dukkha and anatta. There is no alternative way. So if you want to keep the sixth precept, there's no choice than to listen, sunata, bear, dhareta, and practice charata. Anicca, dukkha and anatta. So that is why we spend time talking about it. We've still got some time today. So let's talk about it. Was it last week or the week before we talked about cause and effect? A couple of weeks ago, right? Okay. And then I invited you, I suggested to you that you have some homework to do now. I said, I'll give you one example when you walk down and get into your car. That is the example I left you with the other day. When you get into your car, or as you walk up to your car, look at your car and ask yourself, is there a car? Or is this merely the collection of parts? The aggregation of causes and their effects. This is the cumulative effect, the aggregate effect, the net effect. These are all terms which are intended to create some kind of understanding in your mind. I don't know which of these words are the right word to use, but I just throw it at you anyway, hoping that you get exactly what I'm trying to get across to you. We use the pair of scissors as an example. And I asked you the first question, why do you call it a pair of scissors? Where's the pair in the scissors when I only had one in my hand? Then we discussed that it is because it has 2 arms or 2 halves. But neither of these 2 halves can cut like a pair of scissors can. But each one can move and it has a sharp blade. Right? But if you hold a piece of paper and just run a sharp blade through it, the paper is just going to fold or bend and let the blade through. It's not going to actually pierce the paper. But what happens when you use 2 of those together and you bolt it in between, now the paper has no choice but to accept the combined effect of those 2 halves working together. But each of those halves only contribute their presence. Let's take another example today. I just realized. The projector is not projecting anything, right? Okay. So I'm not going to draw anything on the board. I will explain it. It's fine. A handle. I'm going to describe some parts to you, and you tell me what comes to your mind, okay? A handle, some bristles. What comes to your mind? What's that? Brush. What brush? Huh? What brush? Toothbrush. What brush? Hairbrush. Toilet brush. Broom. Yes. Paintbrush. See, you have lots of different answers to this question. Why do you have so many different answers to this? Reason is, I explained the causes to you. I listed out the causes to you, but I gave you the freedom, the liberty of deciding the arrangement of those causes. Now, what is the makeup of a hairbrush? So you'd have something like this. Not a good example. I'll use this pen. You'd have something like a flat part, right? Maybe there'd be a handle at the end of this as well, or this part of the handle, and you have lots of bristles, right? Sticking, pointing down or up, whichever way, but typically that's how you imagine a hairbrush, because you hold it that way, right? So all those bristles would be attached to the handle perpendicularly. That's how they would be attached to the handle. Now, if you wanted to make a toilet brush out of this, what would you do? You take all of this and then put it on this side, sort of like a sphere around the brush. Same handle, same bristles, maybe a bit longer, but you get the idea is that the arrangement has now changed. What if you wanted to make a toothbrush out of it? Then you won't have bristles all along the surface or the length of this handle. You would condense them all to just one small part of this, right? And then keep this part so you can stick it into your mouth. So do you see it's the same causes? It's still the handle and the bristles. But the way you have arranged it makes all the difference. Because that arrangement, ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully and try and understand what I'm trying to explain to you. That arrangement determines how those causes contribute their effect. That's fine. I'll repeat it 10 times if you need. Take it slowly. Causes, all they do is be present. Right? I think we flogged that horse to death 2 weeks ago. Causes, all they do are be present. They just are present. Their presence is all they have to do. See, the handle is present. Now the handle is past, future. What is it? What is the opposite of present? Absent. Well done. That was the key takeaway from that talk. The opposite of present is not past or the future. It is absent. Because it is that presence we are talking about, not temporal presence. We are talking about more like spatial presence, if you like. In space, it's present. Okay? So, present and absent. So if this is the handle, if this were the handle of any of these brushes that we talked about, so which ones did we talk about? Toothbrush, hairbrush, toilet brush, paintbrush, right? Let's keep these brushes for now. These 4 brushes. The handle's contribution is its, what's the word? Presence. Well done. The bristles' contribution is what? Their presence. But there's a third factor here. That third factor determines whether you call it a toothbrush, a hairbrush, a toilet brush, or a paintbrush. And that is their magical word, arrangement, indeed. Their arrangement. Their arrangement. Now, listen carefully, because there's some profound wisdom that you will walk away with if you can get your heads around this. And you can, all of you can, because you are so full of merits. This is the time to reap what I explained to you at the beginning of the sermon. That devotion, that love, that respect that you have towards the Mahasanga, the Buddha and the Dhamma, this is the time to reap the rewards of that devotion. So the handle's contribution is its presence. The bristle's contribution is their presence. But there's a third factor. What determines what you call it? Actually, it's not just the name I'm talking about. The net effect of those 2 causes is the arrangement of these 2 causes. Because the arrangement, ladies and gentlemen, the arrangement determines the way or the manner in which causes exert their effects. The arrangement of causes determine the way or the manner in which those causes contribute their effect. Regardless of the arrangement, the effect is still the same. Which effect? The individual effect. Once again, regardless of the arrangement, the individual effect or the individual effects are the same. So the handle's effect is always its presence. It's a handle. See, the thing is this. Now, although we call it a handle, we give it that name. I don't know how successful I'll be at getting this point across, but I'll keep trying. You keep trying, we'll both keep trying, okay? And maybe then there'll be a magical effect of all this. Because as I speak to you, various ideas just flood through my head, through my brain, and then I'm trying to structure them through language, through presentation, delivery, and all that. So bear with me. We call it a handle. Maybe I'll use this example because it's one you can actually see, rather than trying to visualize a brush. We'll come back to the brush later. This part is called the handle, isn't it? See, this is only called a handle. This is only called a handle. No, let me try it this way. Regardless of what you call this, regardless of the fact, regardless of whether it had or did or didn't have a name. Now we call it a handle, granted, but even if it didn't have a name, it still contributes something in the space that it's in, right? By its mere presence, it contributes something. Why then do we call it a handle? Because if I took this part off, and then maybe find three more of these, and then put a top of it, you would no longer call it a handle. Then it becomes the leg of a table. But for now we call it a handle. See, because in this arrangement, the contribution of this part serves the purpose of a handle to the overall arrangement, to the overall product, This is only a handle because this is, what do we call this? The wing. The whole thing is a fan. It's a fan. Okay. I'm learning from you just as much as you're learning from me. It's a mutually educative experience. Very good. This is only a handle because this allows it to be. It's sort of something like that. It's used as a handle. It's used as a handle because this part is the wing. If this part wasn't here, if this part wasn't here, and say we found 4 of these, or maybe let's say I got one of these and drilled a hole in it and filled it with ink and maybe attach a nib to the bottom of this. Now this becomes a pen. It's now the body of the pen. You might still call it the handle of the pen if you wanted to, but we don't call it that. We just call it a pen, the body of a pen. If I were to sharpen it at one end, now it becomes a weapon. Still, it might serve the purpose of a handle, which is why I went a bit further ahead and said, if I found 4 of these and then put a top on top of that, now you call it the leg of a table rather than the handle of something. Do you see how this is a handle not because of something special about this itself? So actually the word handle, this object, it does not have a right to the name handle. It does not have a right to be called a handle. Because it's not always a handle. Now, at one point this was a bark of a tree, wasn't it? Or a branch of a tree somewhere. At that point it was never called a handle. But then what did they do? They took it, they carved it, right? They shaped it, they painted it, and then they fitted it to the end of this wing. When these two causes came together, the purpose that this piece of wood served has now all of a sudden elevated this, allowing us to call it a handle. But this has no entitlement to always be called a handle, because you could use it for any other purpose, and that purpose is always determined by the arrangement of these causes. I'm trying to see if I can find another example here. We have some creative spirits in the room. Very good. Right, let's take this one then. So this currently, if I asked you what this is, what would you say? It's a saucer. But let's say we had some food and we wanted to share between ourselves and we had nothing to eat it in. You're not supposed to eat on a saucer, are you? What are you supposed to do with the saucer? You're supposed to put this cup on top of it and then use it to serve. At best, if it's too hot, what can you then do? Pour it onto the saucer. Remember those old days when you were younger? Right? And wait until it went cool enough to drink it, right? So you could use it for that. But this is a saucer. Now, but when you have some food and we have nothing to put it on, what is that nothing that we have to put it on? A plate. Then you can use this as a plate. At that point, this becomes a plate. So which name is this object entitled to? Saucer or plate? See, it is not entitled to any of these names. Let me prove it with another example. Let's say there was a fan blowing at me. I was very gusty. Okay, now to stop, I say, I have some piece of paper here. To stop it from blowing, what might I use this as? A paperweight. Right, and then I put it on that, and now it stops the papers from blowing. In fact, say there was this, if this saucer was somewhere there, and I had the papers and there was no other physical heavy object to put it on, I would ask someone, sir, please could you get me that saucer? So the gentleman would bring it in. So, Swaminathan, you want to eat something? Or have you got something to drink? No, sir, I just want to use it as a paperweight. Now this becomes a paperweight. So what is this? What name do we give this? It all depends, doesn't it? It all depends on the arrangement. The arrangement of this object in relation to the arrangement of other things in its environment. When you bring this close to this, now, see, all unbeknown to this, it becomes a saucer. See, now I have something, I have some cardamoms and I have a few bits and pieces I can put on this. Imagine this is your murukku that you have at home. Huh? Okay, so if we had that served, right, you might call it a plate or a dish or something. But that is when you treat it in isolation and with these food items on top of it. So what qualified this to become a plate? Arrangement. Arrangement, ladies and gentlemen. The arrangement of these causes in relation to this cause. That's why we call it a manifestation. See, the plate doesn't exist. It is born out of arrangement. The plate is born out of the arrangement of causes. It didn't appear from somewhere. It didn't come running into the room. And no sooner than I take this, do you think the plate is going to run out of the room? Is it? No. But see what happens. When I take out this, when I remove these food items, and I bring it close to this cup, now you don't call this a plate, you now call this a saucer. Once again, because of arrangement. So, what is your body called? A human body, right? Your body is a human body. Why do you call it a human body when you have never eaten anything human? You're not scavengers, are you? Or what do you call them? Not scavengers. Cannibals, thank you. You're not cannibals, are you? You're not cannibals. So you've never eaten anything human besides maybe cells from your own cheeks. Right? Or if you wounded your finger or something, sucked your own blood. You've been doing a bit of that, but you've never eaten human flesh served on a plate. You've never done that. But you call yourselves human beings. You call your heart a human heart. You call this human muscle, human bone, human blood, human tissue, human flesh. This is all human. Apparently this is human hair. Sorry. Shouldn't have done that. Should be careful before use myself for examples. That which you have on your head, which I don't have on mine, is called human hair. Why do you call that human hair? Exactly. Why do you call your flesh human flesh? It's because of the arrangement of things. It's because of the arrangement. Now going back to the brush. I said I would come back to it. The toothbrush is not in the toothbrush. It's not in the handle and it's not in the bristles either. Because if you remove those bristles and fit it in a different arrangement, where does the toothbrush go? It goes nowhere because it didn't come from anywhere to go anywhere. That manifestation is no longer that of a toothbrush. Now you might call it a hairbrush. In fact, if you took those bristles and fit it like a sphere at the end of the handle, now you might call it a toilet brush. If you took it and fitted it horizontally on the handle, you might call it a paintbrush. If you extend the arm a little bit longer, now you call it a broom. So these names that we give it, none of these objects have an entitlement to those names. Here's the point. If those objects don't have an entitlement to those names, then they are not really what you think they are, or refer to them as. They are not the names that you call them by. If they are not what you think they are, how can you be what you think you are? How come your spouse is who you think they are, or your children who you think they are? All they are, this is all they are merely arrangements of matter. It is that arrangement you give a name to. Don't be fooled or deceived to think that the name by which you address them is what they actually are. I would love to say that out 10 times until it sinks into your mind, but I'll tell it one more time, and I want you to contemplate this. Don't be deceived or fooled to think that the names you use to refer to the objects, the people that you see around you, are actually what you call them by. So a rose is not a rose. A spade is not a spade, although the saying goes, a spade by or a rose by another name. None of those things are what you call them. Which is why if you take this handle off, it would be wrong to say that you have taken off the handle of the fan. It would be wrong to say that you have taken the handle of the fan. These of-thers don't exist. Of-thers. We are butchering English, aren't we? All of these of-thers, the handle of the fan, the cap of the pen, the saucer of the cup, the button of the microphone, the arms of the clock, the battery of the clock. None of those of-thers exist. But that's the most difficult thing to get your head around, because you see the world as entities. In a world of entities, ladies and gentlemen, everything is an of-the. Shall I repeat that? In a world of entities, in a world full of entities, everything is an of-the. What are you of-the on a Sunday morning? A member of the Rajagirian community, or the audience. What is Swami Nahanse of-the on a Sunday morning? He's the preacher of this community. But when he's back at the monastery, he's another Swami Nahanse at the monastery. This chair that you are sat on, what is that of-the? Then you say, it depends, it depends, it depends. See, it always depends. Of course, it always depends. It depends because it is not an of-the. It is not an of-the. Of-the is not one word, right? Of-the meaning it doesn't belong to anything. It's merely the arrangement. Now, could we not take these chairs and take it to some other function? Could the school not hire these chairs out to another function? Then are they chairs of the school? Does this chair know that it's a chair of the school? No. Before they brought it to this school, where were these chairs? They were at the shop. So they were chairs of the shop. Now what are they? Who says? Says who? Now they're chairs of the school. If these chairs break, or say the school donates some chairs, the school donates some chairs to, let's say, an orphanage. Now what are the chairs of? The orphanage. And then the orphanage donates some chairs to an old people's home. Now what are the chairs of the old people's home? So what is the chair of the ultimately? Of the what? is not an of the anything, right? Okay, then let's take the chair. Now the chair has the legs, it has the part you sit on, and the back, the seat and the back. So it's the back of the school. So it's the back of the chair of the school. So this is this school. So this is the Colombo campus. They have some other branches in other parts of the country, right? So in Kandy we have one, right? So then there's a Kandy branch. This is the Colombo branch. So let's start again then. It's the back of the chair of the auditorium of the branch of we don't say of the Colombo, but of Colombo of the Gateway School. None of these ofters actually exist. Because all you have to do is make one change. Take the back and swap it with the seat. Or take the back and use it for something else. Maybe as a pillow. Or something else. Now, where is that ofter gone? These ofters only live in our minds. That belonging, sense of belonging only lives in our mind. That's not to say though, and I must emphasize this point as well, otherwise you will only get half of the truth. That's not to say though that combinations of effects don't manifest themselves in ways that are characteristically different to the very causes that are part of that aggregation. That's a long sentence. That was a mouthful. Let's try again. Now I said these others only exist in the mind, right? What I'm saying now is complementary to that. This does not go against it. This is complementary to it. But I don't want you to walk away thinking that there are only the causes and their effects in the external world. Because there is a third thing there, but it's not an entity. It's nothing more than the combined effect, not a third entity. In fact, it's not a third cause for that matter. It's not a third cause. It's the net effect. When two effects come together, now you see a combined effect which is characteristically different to the original effects that contributed to creating that third effect. But it is not a separate cause. All things in this world are like that. That is why I asked you, what are you then? You are a human body, but this is merely stuff that you have put in through your mouths. But we call it a human body because this arrangement of energy, this arrangement of what you have eaten, in relation to each other's presence, is what makes it human flesh, human blood, human bone, human hair, and so on. Let's put it this way. If we took, now ignore the fact that there's something called human DNA. So there's the human genome, which is the order of DNA in the human body. Just ignore that for a second. It's still valid, but it might be a little bit confusing if you include that. Ignore that for a second. If I just took a strand of hair, how do you say that it's human hair? If you consider that strand of hair on its own, just on its own, how do you say it's human hair? Now don't think about DNA. Because if you do that, then again I'll have to take you in another direction. Let me give you an answer because it helps you to actually understand what I'm trying to get across. This becomes human hair because it has been taken from a human head. If that hair had been taken from another animal, let's say an animal whose hair has equal chemical composition, okay, equal chemical composition. I don't know, what other animal has equal chemical composition? Monkey? Maybe. A gorillas? Okay. Maybe. We're not sure. I'm not a zoologist, so or a biologist for that matter. But let's just assume that we take a hair from a monkey or a gorilla, and chemically these were identical. What makes one a human hair, the other the gorilla's hair? Chemically, if they're identical, then it's only the fact that it came from a human body and the other came from a gorilla body. So what is a human body and what is a gorilla body? It's the net effect of all of the causes, including the hair. Including the hair. Did the hair come from the body, or is the hair also the body? What a confounding question that was. This is why I had the bricks here all along. Can you see this from the back? Yes? Okay. This has 4 bricks stacked on one on top of the other. Okay? I take one brick out. This is a tower. Let's call it a tower, shall we? A tower. Did this brick, where did this brick come from? Just give me the answer that comes to you naturally. Where did this brick come from? Okay. Where did this brick come from? The tower. Okay. Where did this brick come from? From the? Okay. Where did this brick come from? What tower? From the tower? Which one? Where? What tower are you talking about? The tower that was. In the past. See, now we go back to the past. There was a tower in the past, but it's not there now in the present, because what did Swaminatha do? He disassembled the tower. So you kept on saying that these parts came from the, or rather, they are parts of the, indeed, see? They are parts of the tower. The first part of the tower, the second part of the tower, the third part of the tower, and the fourth part of the, which tower? This one. The tower that was. See, are they parts of the tower, or are they themselves the tower? Are these parts of the tower, or are they the tower themselves? If you say that these are parts of the tower, then where is that tower of which these are parts? Think about this. If these are parts of the tower, just like you say, you are a human body, so you have the hair of the body, the flesh of the body, the skin of the body, the mouth of the body, the eyes of the body. If you take all those parts out and lay it on the table, where is the body of which those are parts? Where is that gone? So then, are they parts of the body, or is it the aggregation of those parts that you now call the body? Well, there you go then. So what entitlement then does the body have to be called a body? Because where is that body that has any right to be called and treated as an entity of a body? Does it sound like Greek, or does it sound like Greek? Come back to the tower. Are these parts of the tower? Or is the tower merely the aggregation or the net effect, the aggregate effect of all of these parts? That's what it is, right? That is what it is. Did you get that part? So if I ask you to go and fetch a pail of water from the well, can you do that? Okay, put the well to a side. If I ask you to go and fetch a pail of water from the ocean, or a bucket of water from the ocean, what are you bringing with you? Water of the sea. It's water of the sea. So if you then keep on taking water from the sea, theoretically, it should just run out. Then where's the sea gone? So actually, did you bring something from the sea? Wasn't the water that you brought also part of also the sea? Is that not also the sea? Or is that a part of the sea? From the sea, of the sea, in the sea, on the sea? This is not a prepositional grammar class. Just try get the concept. Forgive me if I'm not using the right terminology here. But the idea is very clear in my mind and I'm trying to stitch it in the right words to express it to you. If I ask you to go fetch a pail of water from the well, what is the well? A well is a collection of water. So then if you drain all of the water that you said you were getting from the well, but now if all the water has been extracted, taken out, where is the well now? Now there is no longer a well. So then every part that you took out was also the well, wasn't it? Because each part, each drop of water contributes its presence, and the collective contribution is the well. There is no separate well from which you can take water. There isn't a separate well. That's why they say you can't separate. We've been using this word, separation. Right? That's why you say you can't separate the effect from its causes. Because the effect is merely the contribution of the presence of the cause. See, come back to this tower again. What do each of these parts do? They contribute. What do they contribute? Their presence. Yes, they contribute their presence. This part could contribute its presence at the top or at the bottom. This part could do the same. You can keep doing this and nothing's going to happen. It will just be the same tower. Each part contributes its presence. Let's convince that to ourselves that each part does nothing more than contribute its presence. Let's remove its presence. Now what is this part in relation to this? What is it now? What is this part doing in relation to this tower? Being what? Being present, indeed. It's being present. Okay, what is this part doing now in relation to this tower? Being absent. Yes, absent. So what did it do while it was here? It contributed its presence. Okay, right. Now we are about to try and prove to ourselves, this is the hypothesis, that each part does nothing more than contribute its presence. Okay, right. So we've taken out its presence. So now this part can no longer contribute what to this? Presence, exactly. This part, the second part, what is it doing right now? Contributing its presence. What is it doing now? Actually, you could say it's contributing its absence. Much like every other part in the whole world. Every other part is also contributing its absence to this, right? But we don't see the contribution of absence, we talk about the contribution of presence. Yeah? So while it's contributing its presence at this point, when you take it out, now it's no longer contributing its presence. Rather than saying it's contributing its absence, we could say it's no longer contributing its presence, okay? Right, that part is now no longer contributing its presence. So now you have two parts contributing their presence and two parts not contributing their presence. Third part. What it was doing was contributing its presence, and it's no longer contributing its presence. Now you have the final part. This is the last chance. Still, this part is contributing its presence. What did it do when the other parts were there? What did this part do while the other parts were there? What did it do? Contribute its presence, nothing more than that. What is it doing now? It's still fighting. It's contributing its presence. And what is it doing now? Absent from what? Absent, okay, absent. Absent from what? From the arrangement, yes. That's the best you can go. That's the best you can say. It's absent from that particular arrangement. See, so all there is in this world is presence and its effect. That's why they're called causes. They're called causes because they cause, now in the verb sense, they cause the manifestation of effects. See, cause is both a noun and a verb, right? So we think of causes, when we say causes, we think of the noun. The cause of this is that. We think of a noun. Now think of cause as a verb for a moment. These are called causes because they cause, as a verb, the manifestation of an effect. That effect I treat as a noun for now. These causes contribute their presence as an effect. Or in this, they contribute their presence, and the collective contribution, the aggregate contribution, the aggregate effect, if you like, is this tower. But this tower cannot be entitled to be called the tower. Because there are none of these parts is a tower on its own. And when you take the parts away, there's no tower left either. So the word tower, this name, the word tower, is not something that this collection is entitled to. It's not entitled to that. Because now it's a tower. If you turn it on it or turn it flat, now it could be, you fit some wheels onto it. Now it acts like a vehicle. It's no longer a tower. So you see, this, depending on the arrangement in which you find it. Again, I could use this as a paperweight. Yeah, I could keep on constructing things on top of this and then start putting branches, maybe leaves around it. Now this becomes a trunk of a tree. That's why blocks are so versatile, right? You can use it to make just about anything. That's the whole point of building blocks. That's why they're called building blocks. They're just blocks. They're just blocks of nothing, really. They're just blocks of nothing. Just like everything that you're made out of. Blocks of nothing. So what are you then? Just a collection of blocks of nothing. So what are you then? Nothing. You're merely the collection. Actually, see if you can get your head around this. You are nothing more than, you're nothing more than the collective contribution, the aggregate contribution of all of the individual parts happening at once, hence the collective. They don't make up a separate identity that you can then give a name and say, I am a man, I am a woman, this is my name, this is my identity. But we feel that we are entitled to such things. We feel that, don't you feel like you should have a name? Don't you feel entitled to a name? Just imagine, right? Everyone in this world has a name, but they strip you of your right to have a name. That is probably a human right, isn't it? A basic human right to have a name? Is it? People in rights on the I think every child is entitled to have a name. But that's what convention says. Everyone should have a name. Because that name helps you to wrap everything up into a nice little package. That's what a name does. Because we always see the world as entities, our names help us to fit everything into that package of a name. So when they say, whatever your name is, when they call you by your name, right? You feel that all of you, now let's say someone says, let's imagine your name is, got to be careful now. Let's say your name was John. Okay, let's go with John. That's a safe bet. Let's go with John. So when you say, John, come here, right? Someone summons John. Doesn't John feel that all of him has to go there? Right? His head, his neck, his body, his chest, right? Does he not feel that all of him is John? Yeah, does he not feel that? He feels that. Meaning to him, this word John encapsulates just about everything from head to toe and everything in the middle, everything that fills his outer shell, and his character, his knowledge, his qualities, his characteristics, all of that in one package. And we have this one name called John. It works so well with minds that are laden with ignorance, because minds love to experience entities. Therefore, there is nothing that is more musical, more tantric, more exhilarating and more enjoyable to you than your name, because when you hear your name being uttered, you feel that is all of you, not all of you, all of what makes you in one package. That's why your name is so precious to you. All of this in one bulk is your name. See, the Arahant does not have this feeling. He or she understands that this name is merely a convention. I know you also understand it's a convention, but you can't stop there. There's some internal force, there's some internal energy that makes you want to believe that every part of you is also encompassed in this name that you have been given. That's why when people call you by another name, you feel offended. You don't like it if someone mispronounces your name. It has become such an important part of your identity. So actually the name is to the identity. Your identity has a name, doesn't it? That's why it's on the what card? Identity card. That is the name that has been given to your identity. It's an important part. But what I want you to understand, and walk away with this for today. What we discussed with the tower. These blocks are not of the tower. These blocks are not of the tower because there is no tower that they are parts of. That's why once you disassemble these parts, there is now not a tower to which these parts belong to. Because there is no tower that we can position in that way, what do they belong to? To what does this part belong? This tower? Then what does this part belong to? This tower? Okay, then what does this part belong to? This tower. Then what does that part belong to? Nothing. So this is the one part that doesn't belong to anything. So now I have a very cunning and smart way to thieve. If you want to steal something, just go for the last one. Because then it's not theft. Right? If you take the last one of anything, it's not theft, right? Because there's a bouquet of flowers. And if you take the last one, that's not of the anything, is it? Because the first one was of the tower. The second one, of the tower. The third one, of the tower. The fourth one, now you can't say of the tower because there's no longer a tower to be of the. So then that is, the fourth one was not of anything. Therefore you can take this and walk away with no guilt. So had you come when it was a... Now they're left with... See, you took the last one out. Now they're left with 3. Next day you come and take, not the first one, the second, you take the third one away. Now they're left with 2. Then the following day you come and take the second one. Now they're left with 1. That one you can take away anyway. So you can take both of these at the same time. Say someone owns this, right, and you want to take it away without committing a crime or a sin, and they don't want to give it to you either. So technically that would be theft. Right? So if you took this, then that would be from the tower. Yeah? But then now this cannot be taken from the tower because there's no longer a tower. So you might as well say, I'm going to take this from the tower, but then when I take that, then this becomes no longer the tower, so I might as well take that at the same time and walk away with it. See, what kind of confounded logic is that? The concept is this, ladies and gentlemen, there is no such thing called belonging. There are no others in this world. Shall I give you something to munch on over the course of the next week? This is a tasty one. Does an arahant not steal because it is not right of him to do so, because it would be a sin? Or does he not steal because he does not comprehend the concept of belonging? In absolute terms, this doesn't belong to anything. All it did while it was here was contribute its presence. It never signed up to a contract of belonging. It never signed up to a contract of belonging. So the whole concept of belonging is only in your mind. So an arahant can never commit theft, not because it's bad to do so, not because it's a sin, but because the concept of belonging does not exist in their intellect. They still understand that conventionally, people think that things belong to them. If an arahant walked into this room, they would look at all of us and say, they still think that they belong. The person you're holding the hand of, they would say, he thinks she's his wife, and he thinks that, she thinks that he is her husband. Right? But those are all merely conventional constructs. But the arahant understands what I just explained to you, that nothing belongs to anything. Nothing belongs to anything, ladies and gentlemen. But you might ask finally the question, so Swaminathan, is there no tower then? So you just explained to us that if you take these parts out, they are only contributing their causes and their presence. So is there no tower then? The answer is this. There are 2 ways to answer this question. You have an entity of a tower in your mind. If you have an entity of a tower in your mind and then ask me the question, Swaminathan, that tower that I have in my mind as the entity, is it there? The answer is no, it's not there. The entity of a tower is not there. What's not there? the entity of a tower is not there. Meaning there is no tower of which these are parts. There is no such tower of which these are parts. Do you get that? There is no tower of which these are parts. But there is a tower. There is a tower. And that tower is merely, exactly, well done. All it is the arrangement of these causes in such a way that each of these parts contribute their presence, and the sum total of that presence, the sum total of their contribution, their presence, now manifests as a tower. Finally, the tower effect, that's what we should call it. It's not the tower, it's the tower effect. The tower effect is different to the effect of each of these parts individually. That is yes. 1, I was going to draw on the board, but I remembered. 1 and 2. The effect of 1 is different to the effect of 1 with 2. The effect of 2 is different to the effect of 2 without 1. Yeah? But 1 and 2 do nothing more than be present. However, there's also an arrangement of their presence. Whereas if you put 1 and 2 in this way, so this being 1 and this being 2, now you have 12. Whereas if you change the arrangement, now it becomes 21. But in both of these cases, all these two causes are doing is being present. That's it. So then you could come up with a list of things that are going on here. Presence of 1, presence of 2, and then the arrangement of these two. Do you see that? Presence of 1, presence of 2, and the arrangement of these two. Switch the arrangement, still presence of 1, presence of 2, what have we changed? The arrangement is what we have changed. We haven't just brought a 21 into the room. We didn't do that. We didn't escort 12 out of the room. And we didn't usher 21 into the room, did we? We did none of those things. All we did was change the arrangement. But do you see how the effect is now different? The net effect. So this is called the 21 effect. This is called the 12 effect. So these things that we give names to, actually we must always suffix it with what? Effect. So what are you? You are human being effects. You are the human being effect. What is this? What are we all doing here right now? This is called the sermon effect. What are you doing? Being present. What am I doing? Being present. Now, but I am present in your presence. You're present in my presence. We are doing nothing more than being present. Do you remember when Guru Handro came there the other day to give a sermon? Where was I then? Where was I? In this room, where was I? I was among you. What did we do then? Was I not present that day? I was. But what had changed? The arrangement had changed. So the arrangement changed, therefore I was no longer the preacher. Then I was part of the audience. See, all it takes is where I sit to decide whether I'm the preacher or a member of the audience. Then does that entitle me to call myself a preacher? Can I call myself a preacher? Am I the preacher? Am I the preacher? I don't know. I'm trying to help you understand. Am I the preacher? Am I the preacher? No, I'm not the preacher. Because there is no the preacher. This is just the effect. So are you the audience? Have you not heard from people who were in the audience before? And then they came onto the stage, and then they became the preacher. So are you the audience? Are you a member of the audience? No, you can't be. This is just the effect. That's what I mean. None of these objects or people or things are entitled to the names that we call them by. No one can say that is my name and I will hold that as my name. No one else can take that name. No one in this room can say that. I cannot say that I am the preacher and no one else shall dare be a preacher. I can't say that because this is merely the effect. If you all stood up and left the room, am I anymore the preacher? Now I'm the loser. No longer the preacher. This effect is only valid to making a sermon because of your contribution. Isn't that so? So I can only take credit for being a preacher because you have so kindly contributed, and you are contributing as members of the audience. If you stood up and left, then we can see for how long I can be preacher. That's why there are no fixed entities in this world. That's the point to get your mind across. There are no fixed entities. Nothing is entitled to be something. Do you get that? Nothing is entitled to be something. Nothing is made. Nothing is done. It's all in the making. That's why I said the other day, you're not human bees. Be being the past word, the past tense. It's not human be. You're human being in the present continuous. You're human being. Actually, you could swap the two words around, then it makes more sense. You're being human. It's present continuous. You're not human was or human are. You're a human being. You're being human. That's why you're called human beings. What is this? If you're a human being, what is this? Pen? Pen being. Why do you call it a pen being? Because it's being a pen. That's why it's called a pen being. What is this? This is a fan being. Why? Because it's being a fan. What is your wife? You understand this because what if she decides not to be your wife? She's your wife because she's being your wife. She's being your husband. The day that comes where she decides, you know what, that's it. I no longer want to be this man's wife, or I no longer want to be this man's husband, right? Then you can no longer call that individual your husband or wife. That's why nothing is ever made, nothing is ever done. Everything is in the presence. This is present continuous. Everything is present continuous. Nothing is done, nothing is ever complete. So live in presence. Live in presence, not present. Live in presence. Keep your mind there. Everything is happening in presence. Everything is happening in the presence of causes. This moment itself is the presence of all these causes. That is what it is. So then how can you be an entity if everything else is only in the presence? That's the thing. Right, let's leave it there for today. And we have the quarterly blood donation campaign at the monastery next Saturday. So if you are feeling charitable, generous, and you have blood in your body, these sandwiches must have done something for you, right? If you have some good blood in your body that you would like to donate to someone who might need it a little bit more than you do. Now there's some criteria that you must fulfill. There's an age limit, there's a weight, minimum weight, and I think you know the drill. I don't need to teach you. If you're so interested, you can find out. Then there's a blood donation campaign. This is a quarterly one that we do at the monastery, so you're all welcome. I think this time as well they have asked for around 200 pints of blood, which we do every quarter. We're very fortunate in that regard, ladies and gentlemen. We have the human resources to contribute. That's what it is. We have the people. We have people power. That's what we have. Manpower, maybe a bit sexist. People power. Yes, we have people power. And that people power keeps on growing, which we are very honored and privileged to say. This is, your sons, daughters, your milk turned to blood, and then now they are producing their own blood, which they can. I love it when we have these blood donation campaigns, because it feels like, they come, we give them the Dhamma, we give them blood, and we give them lifeblood. So we give them both. It's a very beautiful sight. I also love it when I see Sila Shravakas doing their Guru Hama with their teachers. Sometimes, and in the audience are monks and anagarikas who they have offered to this asana. The thought that came to my mind was, isn't it so beautiful how milk has turned to blood, because the Swami Nuances are in red and the Sila Shravikas they're in white, but that was the milk that produced the blood, which is now producing that love and compassion towards them, their very mothers. It's such a beautiful and harmonious. I don't know. I'm lost for words. Just the sheer amount of goodness that happens within one day, and that's why I said, appreciate the beauty in every little action. In the Guru Hamo, in the offerings, in the washing the feet, in holding the umbrellas, laying down the pavada, holding the door open for someone. All of these are incredibly generous, ladies and gentlemen. As you walk in, if you can hold the door open to the person behind you, you can rejoice in that. It's a wonderful mark of courtesy. And I've seen many people do that, and it's such a simple thing to do. It doesn't cost you anything, but it's a gesture of goodwill and a gesture of so much, isn't it? So it takes so little, but you can give so much. And the person feels very welcome. And I have seen how when you offer alms, I didn't talk about that this morning because I have talked about your alms offerings many a time now. I have seen on plenty of days where, especially where there are new people who come in, you are so generous and you just offer your alms to the newcomers, and then they offer it and you just give a sadhukar. Beautiful. It's just that sharing, that caring. That is going to be your rocket to Nibbāna. That is going to be a rocket to Nibbāna. You need that. We all need that. I do it at the monastery. Especially on days where you have maniok. Is that what you call it, right? Manioka? Maniok. So when you have maniok for breakfast, on some days you get it at the monastery. So a gentleman has offered some land in close to Dambulla, in a area called Mahava. So there's a team who cultivate maniok, and then they give the foremost crop to the sasana. So usually when we get the deliveries of maniok, it comes in the thousands of kilos. And usually for one meal, we have to cook about 800 kilos. So anyone who understands that maniok doesn't come from the supermarket or from the fridge, you know how much effort there is involved in preparing maniok. That you've got to take the tuber, you've got to soak it in water, chop it, clean it, cut it, slice it, dice it, cook it, right? So when we have so much work to do in the kitchen, I always make it a point to go and help. And it's an opportunity I really enjoy. Because I know the following morning, some of you will be there to take your food, and I take so much delight in the fact that I'm able to give not only the Dhamma, but also to fuel your furnace so that you can keep awake and alert during the sermon and understand the sermon better. So whenever there are opportunities at the monastery to engage in merits, you will always see us on the field, getting our hands dirty. It's part of our culture at the monastery. Because we don't expect our devotees have to do everything. We don't expect you to do anything really. It is not right of us to expect anything from you. If you wish to support, that is your own, at your own will. This has to be done without expectation, like a mother feeds a child. What does a mother expect from the child? As the mother holds her child in her arms, right? And the child suckles on her breast. What does the mother expect of the child? Nothing, right? Nothing. That is how the Buddha has taught us to be. Give with no expectation. It is true that when you give with no expectation, more comes your way. But you must not expect that either. That would be wrong. Do you understand what I just explained there? It is true that when you give without expectation, more comes your way. But if you expect that, now you are a victim of your own, what? Success, of your own virtue. So that must not be so. But whenever we have opportunities at the monastery, including Guru Handru, that's why we have Mondays and Tuesdays. We usually send you home around 1 o'clock. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, we are all out doing whatever we can. In whatever energy we have, some of us are strong enough to lift weights, not as in at the gym, as in to carry things around. Right? Some can take gilampasa, some can take water, some can carry a bag of cement. Others can maybe take a few rocks and transport them here or there. Whatever. Some can go and help in the kitchen. So we do it not only because it is our duty, because we have a duty to all your, the children, and everyone you have given to the sasana, it is our duty to look after them. But not only because of that, but it is also an opportunity, just like what you do here, when you receive the Swami nuances, and the love and devotion with which you take care and look after the monks and each other. Yeah, that is our ground to do the same. That's why New Year's, when you come to the temple, it's a really wonderful opportunity for us to serve you New Year's Kiribat. And those who have come have experienced and shared in that love and affection. It is all important. It is all part and parcel of our journey. So we must not be very academic when it comes to Nibbana, or technical when it comes to Nibbana. Nothing could be further from Nibbana than being technical, academic. It's not about that. It's about what happens inside here. How much you have softened. That is what gets you to Nibbana. How much you are appreciative of others and their support and the help that you get from others. How much you understand that others tolerate your weaknesses and the sense of gratitude that you have towards that. We talked about this last week or so, I think. How we must be grateful that others are very tolerant of us. Sometimes we feel we are the only ones who are tolerating others, but it's not so. If we have to tolerate others, we must not forget that others must do the same with us as well. Sometimes we forget that. And for that we have to be grateful. So, create fertile ground in your heart, and the Dhamma will do its magic without you even knowing it. That is the Nibbāna that my Guru Handra has taught me, and that's the Nibbāna that I have been walking on, and it has brought me results. So that's the only Nibbāna that I can share with you. I don't know of any other Nibbāna. If there's any other kind of Nibbāna, I'm okay with this one. Because it helps me to be a more useful individual to society, not just someone who depends on devotees and take your offerings and just, isolate myself. There are some traditions where that is done, but the way that we do it is a little bit different. So you won't find us, we do go to the Valley Malva and meditate and all that, but you don't find us doing that all of the time, every day. Most of the time we are out in and amongst people who are just like us and people who are trying to become like us. Because in service we see salvation, but service with purpose, not service for the sake of service, service as a means to salvation. When that is done in that manner, that service becomes merit. I think this is the third time I said let's leave it there, so let's leave it there. Okay. Blood donation, I mentioned, yes? One more thing, sorry. On the day of the blood donation, we will also have a short event at the monastery. I've mentioned the Vimukti Foundation to you 1 or 2 times. I will explain it in more detail next week. But the Vimukti Foundation was established as a non-profit, sectarian, non-governmental organization. It is registered as one. So we work, it was actually a concept of the monastery itself. And so we've established that as a separate institution because it helps us to do some of the work that we are engaged with, like education, nutrition, health, and such, leadership, development, personal development, with the transparency that people wish to see between the monastery and the foundation. So Little Britain, for instance, we have aligned that more with the foundation than with the monastery because we are talking about language, skill, those kind of things, not necessarily Nibbāna. Yes, the skills that they learn there can contribute towards Nibbāna, absolutely, yes. But there could be those who either are not keen on Nibbāna, but it's still an open space where people can come and learn language and become more of a useful individual in the 21st century. So that is also possible. Therefore, it's more aligned to the foundation. So the foundation has been doing some work over the last 1 or 2 years. And on that day, we are going to launch a new website for the foundation, on which we will also list the Little Britain as a program by the Dharmist Rajagiryas. So that will go up on there. And His Excellency, the High Commissioner of New Zealand, has promised to grace the occasion because he has visited us once or twice before, and he truly appreciates the work that we do. And he also he knows what our Swaminvasis have done in Australia and New Zealand when they travel there, and he wants to do more to take what we share with the world to other parts of the world, I think, where closer to home, where problems like drug addiction and anxiety, stress, sometimes even suicide. These are problems that are really becoming a burden to some of those developed nations, developed in many other ways, but maybe not necessarily with the philosophy that we speak of. So he's quite supportive of the work we do, and he has agreed to be present on the day. So there's going to be a small event, and I have asked the organizing team to reserve a few places for our Rajagirian community who might find the time to make it there. I'm not suggesting you must come just for that, but if you can come in for the blood donation, which you might wish to be part of, then please give your names to our Anagarika Mahatya so that we can reserve a seat for you at the event as well. I know it's a bit of a trek, so I'm not suggesting that you must come there for the event itself, but if you can come for the blood donation, if you can let us know that you'll be there, we can ensure that there's a seat available for you for the event as well. Okay, let's leave it there. Right, let's all take a moment then to transfer the merits that we have all acquired. By making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, by inviting the Swaminvasis to deliver the sermon, as well as creating a conducive environment for all to come along and practice the Dhamma, let us take a moment to transfer this message to the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas who have since time immemorial protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha, and transfer it in the medium of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us take a moment to transfer this message to the Mahanayakas, the Anunayakas of all of the chapters throughout the land and all over the world, who have sacrificed their lives to protect the Sambuddha-sasana. Let us also transfer this message to the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine, as well as to my teacher, Guru Swamin Wahanse, and all of the other monks resident at the monastery, and the anagarikas and anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by translating these talks, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. May they all rejoice in these merits. Let us also transfer these merits to our devotees and friends of the monastery, who, for the sake of merits to help them attain the bliss of Nibbāna, continue to sustain the Mahasanga. This includes all of you who provide the Mahasanga with shelter, alms, robes, and medicines, as well as those who pass on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. May they all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our friends, our acquaintances, our employers, our employees, our teachers, our friends, anyone and everyone who have helped us, supported us, and assisted us in any way, shape, or form, reminding ourselves of the great sacrifices that they may have made on our behalf. Let us take a moment to transfer all the merits that we have acquired to all of them. May, by the power of these merits, they also be freed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who have committed themselves to fulfill and preserve the Sambuddhasasana. Let us transfer these merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also transfer these merits to our forefathers, our ancestors, people who have passed away in our name, reminding ourselves that it is in their blood, sweat, and tears today we are able to enjoy the comforts of life and practice the path in their shelter. Let us also transfer these merits to members of the armed forces as well as the police force who sacrificed their lives for the peace and harmony of our nation. Let us also transfer these merits to those who lost their lives to natural disasters and tsunamis, as well as the wars, be their friend or foe, reminding ourselves that in this infinitely long journey of samsara, they will all have been mothers and fathers to us, friends to us, those who would have done good to us, and therefore with an abundance of gratitude and a sense of compassion and loving kindness towards all of them, let us transfer all the merits that we have acquired to all. May by the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful planes, they redeem themselves to be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may by the power and all blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of arahants on this blessed land. And finally, may you and I and everyone who's helped make this program a success become a Rahatan Vahanse or an Arahat Theranin Vahanse in this very life itself and in the era of this Sambuddhasasana itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Members of the Mahasanga will now transfer their blessings to you. Rajagiriya Dveshaginen midatva Mohaginen midatva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satvayo Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhitattaravetva Rajagiriya niveva Dveshagiriya සැප ලැබේවා නිවන් සැප ලැබේවා තුන්රුවන්ගේ සූසි අනන්ත මහා ගුණ බැලෙන් සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්වයෝම නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛිතතර වෙත්වා සාදු සාදු සාදු